better known as Hercules, son of Zeus, the most famous hero ever, who is also the world's most famous
Bastard.
Hey, I'm not saying that as an insult, I'm just calling it like it is, to teach Herakles a lesson.
Never forget what you are. The rest of the world will not. Wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you.
Hercules was born out of wedlock, with his father Zeus raw-dogging someone other than his wife Hera, which is why it is important to not call him Hercules, but Herakles. Well, to be precise, it's Heracles and Hera is Hera, but you know, let's keep it simple with the pronunciations and call them Hera and Herakles. And Herakles translates to Hera's glory, and the name was given to him by Zeus to make Hera happy. But imagine your loved one cheats on you and then names the illegitimate child after you. I feel like that's just the that's ultimate disrespect. And to make things more complicated, his mortal birth name is actually Alcaeus, before Zeus' guilty conscience gave him the name Heracles that the Romans then changed to Hercules. Anyway, you know him as a big, muscular hero, slayer of beasts, right? Well, what if I told you that Heracles actually killed his own wife and children, murdered more than any serial killer you're obsessing over on Netflix, cheated and slept around in ways that would even impress his dad Zeus, and often Heracles was as far from a hero as anybody could be. But also, he was a hero. In a way, he was a hero, not just for once impregnating 50 women in 50 consecutive nights, but for actually doing heroic things. So let's meet the real Hercules. Let's meet Heracles. Like you've never seen him before. Herakles' story starts when Zeus slept with his great-granddaughter. What the Yeah, surprise, new lows. This time, Zeus slept with the great-granddaughter of his own son, Perseus. And Perseus, by the way, was also
He's a bastard!
To be precise, Zeus slept with Perseus' great-granddaughter, Almini, and got her pregnant, because he was, raw. He didn't just get her pregnant though. Almini was actually married to a king, in fact. But Zeus really wanted to tap his great-granddaughter, so when her husband, the king, went away to war, Zeus transformed, shapeshifted into her husband and paid his great-granddaughter a visit for some godly loving in disguise. Great-grandfather style. When the king returned and found his wife was pregnant, he was kind of confused, understandably. He was like,
You know a word that is not used very often anymore? Cuckold. I'm a cuckold. David Lindhagen cuckolded me. He made a cuckold out of me. He slept with my wife, and I didn't know about it. And that is the definition of cuckolddom.
So he got pissed, but he was a mature man, so like a true level-headed king, his reaction was,
Let's burn her!
But just in time, Zeus intervened and told the king what he did, and that also his wife was actually pregnant with 2 sons, and one of them is the king's. Yay, 2 for 1. To celebrate the occasion, Zeus told the happy couple that a prophecy was foretold that the next son born from Perseus' bloodline would become the king of Mycenae. Yay! So no hard feelings, right? So Hera, who was listening from all this up on Mount Olympus, was like, next king of Mycenae, Oh, really? And Hera went to her daughter Eileithyia, the goddess of childbirth, and told her, Listen, baby girl, the next bastard that is born into Zeus's other bastard, Perseus' bloodline, will take over his little bastard kingdom, and I don't want it to be his new bastard. Whoa, mom, easy with the language. What's the new age? We PC now. We don't call him that. We call him illegitimate children born out of wedlock.
Shut your mouth!
Okay? Make sure that Herakles' cousin, by the way, I hate the name, how dare you? Herakles? My glory? What the hell is wrong with that dude? I want that his cousin is born first, so that the cousin becomes the king of Mycenae. Got it? Yeah, chill, mom, got it. But you think it's a bad idea, though, right? You think your mom's evil, right? Oh, mom, I'm glad you kind of asked, because I think
It doesn't matter what you think!
Forced by Hera, Eileithyia delayed the birth of Herakles and his twin brother long enough for Alcmene's cousin, who happened to also be pregnant, to give birth first. And so a boy named Eurystheus was born into Perseus' bloodline before Herakles or his brother, and so Herakles' cousin Eurystheus became king of Mycenae. Still, Eventually, Heracles was born, alongside his brother Iphicles, who I will never again mention in the story because no one really cares about him. It's like the third Hemsworth brother.
It was a wonderful joke.
Hera, though, was not satisfied with just having foiled Heracles' prophesied kinghood. She wanted to inflict more damage, so she felt like murdering an infant is the next logical step here. Don't be shocked, Hera wasn't new to this. She once threw her own baby down a cliff because it was too ugly. For this premeditated baby murder, Hera sent 2 snakes into baby Heracles' crib to poison him. But little baby Heracles was like,
What do we say to the god of death?
Not the name.
and he strangled the snakes. He was too strong and also was kind of showing early signs of animal abuse that will play a major role later in his life. His mother, Almini, was terrified that somebody would attempt to kill her baby, and she vowed that she would do anything to protect her baby boy, that she would do anything to protect Heracles. She took baby Heracles into the forest and abandoned him there. Parents, take notes. Protecting children 101. Against all odds, though, the baby did not get eaten, did not freeze to death in the forest, abandoned all alone, but was actually found by two goddesses who had no idea who the baby was, but took care of it lovingly. Those goddesses were Athena and Hera. Yeah, it does not make any sense. It makes no sense whatsoever. But let's roll with the plot hole, all right? Let's assume that all babies kind of look alike from up on Mount Olympus when you're sending snakes to kill them, all right? Let's roll with it. Hera didn't recognize Heracles. It is what it is. It is what it is. So Hera and Athena took care of the baby and were super impressed with how godlike the baby seemed, and they decided to make the baby even more OP. So Athena blessed him with superior courage and cunning, and Hera fed the baby her divine breast milk, which gave baby Heracles even more godly strength, making him way stronger than every other demigod, so strong, in fact, that as a baby, Heracles was, as he was drinking the breast milk directly from the source, he grew stronger by the second, so strong that he bit down on Hera's nipple so hard that she had to pull him off, and milk gushed out of her boob and into the sky where it formed the Milky Way. Yeah, with her nipple hurting, Hera got mad, and with her anger returning, she suddenly recognized the baby, and she was like, But before she could get her hands on Heracles and finish the job, Athena also took a closer look at the boy and realized that this is her brother. So she welcomed him to the born from Zeus cheating on Hera club and swore to always protect him as his patron goddess. And then Athena got bored of him and took Heracles back to the mother that abandoned him. Patron goddess. My patrons are way better. By the way, shout out to everybody supporting me on Patreon. Shout out to all my patrons. Love you all. And if you want to have all the artwork from these videos in high resolution, download all these videos in high resolution and get about 30 shorter exclusive videos in high resolution, check out my Patreon from the link in the description. And that's how you plug your Patreon.
Now that's how you let the beat build, bitch. That's how you let the beat build, bitch.
So Heracles was back with the mother who abandoned him. This time, though, Almini was up to the task, which is not really a great redemption arc because, the baby was blessed and protected by Athena and had even more super strength. Honestly, not much could go wrong anymore. And Heracles grew up into a young hero. And like every great hero, Heracles had all kinds of epic teachers, from heroes to philosophers to sword masters, archery masters, kings, all to teach him everything that he needed to know. And Heracles was so thankful to his teachers that once, when his music teacher chastised him for getting a tune wrong, Heracles murdered him on the spot by smashing his skull into pieces with his instrument.
That escalated quickly. That really got out of hand fast.
And for that, Heracles was actually tried for murder, but it was found that he was defending himself because his teacher chastised him and kind of whooped him with a stick. So he was found innocent. But even though he was found innocent, this incident changed the perception of Heracles. People were now scared of him. So Zeus decided that it was time for Heracles to leave his sheltered life behind and go on his first journey. To humble and educate young Heracles and make sure he grows into an independent man that knows responsibility, Zeus had Heracles take care of some cattle on a farm in Thespiae. And there, after living the simple, uneventful farmer life for a bit, Heracles ran into two women one day. One of the women was beautiful in the traditional sense, a picture of class, purity, a lady, the type you want to proudly introduce to your parents. And the other woman,
She belongs to the streets.
hot as hell though, hot as hell. But that's about it. That other woman went by the classical ancient Greek name of Thotiana. And Thotiana approached Heracles and told him, "You, young Heracles, must choose your path in life. You have two choices. Come with me, and you know we gonna get it on. From dusk till dawn, you get me? Comfort and excess, or luxury, no work, just lots of sex. And it can all start with a simple kiss, for I am the goddess of bliss." And the other one, the lady, the pure one, she said, "Don't listen to her. She's a thought. They also call her the goddess sloth. Come with me, and it's a life of virtue you'll see. Luxuries earned through victory, paid for in blood. It will take all you got, but you will reign after you learn that without pain, there is no gain." You didn't know I had bars like that, son. You didn't know I had bars like that.
Because I spit hot fire.
You get me. You get me. You're sleeping. You're sleeping. You're sleeping. I'm hyped. I need a... His one job would be to be like a hype man, but not even, you know. Anyway, Heracles decided to go with the pure, virtuous one and send Thotiana back to the streets. We actually don't know what happened next, but this is more of a spiritual experience, metaphorical type of situation. Anyway, you know what I mean? Heracles was probably just high on something, imagining things or whatever. As for the farming life, the cattle life, there was finally some action. A lion caused trouble for Heracles' cattle and the other farms in the region, so the king, King Thespios, approached Heracles and said that if Heracles slays the lion, he can sleep with all of the king's daughters, and the king had 50 daughters. But since Heracles was now on that path of virtue, he didn't have to think twice about his answer. "So do you want me to call you father from now on, or something?" Heracles tracked the lion down for 50 days, and each night he slept with one of the king's 50 daughters until the lion was dead and all the daughters were pregnant.
Impressive. Very nice.
After that, Heracles really kind of grew into this hero thing and helped out a bunch of people, which eventually led him away from his farm and cattle to Thebes, which had just lost the war against the Mineas and now was oppressed and suffering under their enemies' rule and exploitation. And the Thebians asked Heracles for help. The king offered his daughter as a reward if Heracles could possibly help them defeat the evil that oppressed them. And Heracles was like, your daughter? Like, singular? Mate, you gotta do it. I just tapped 50. But this daughter was so beautiful that once he saw her, Heracles actually fell in love. So he helped them defeat their enemies, and the king was so happy that he gave his daughter away to this stranger that was really good at violence. And so Heracles acquired his first wife, Megara. His marriage to Megara changed Heracles. She loved him and he loved her, and eventually they gave each other the most beautiful gift in the world. 3 children, 3 beautiful sons, and now Heracles had grown from a hot-headed, irresponsible boy into a man, a husband, and a father. And if there was a happy ending to the tale of Heracles, this would be the last stop for it. Hera was never going to let Heracles just be happy. She had become fixated on Heracles, and it was almost as if he was to suffer all the accumulated pain Hera had endured from Zeus's constant cheating. And even though Heracles translates into Hera's glory, the demigod became the pinnacle of Hera's wrath. After Heracles enjoyed a couple of years of happiness with Megara and their 3 sons, Hera, out of nowhere, cast a spell of madness on him. Heracles, always had a knack for violence, so his mind was susceptible to rage, and Hera played on that weakness to make Heracles see his former enemies in his wife and sons. So in a literal act of blind rage, Heracles butchered his children, butchered Megara, and only came back to his senses when he was covered in their blood with their dead bodies around him. After that, Heracles fell into a deep and dark depression and started roaming around the lands aimlessly until his brother Apollo, the god of healing and prophecy, appeared to him. And Apollo told Heracles that there is one way he can atone for his sins. He must go to Apollo's temple in Delphi, where the oracle will tell Heracles exactly what to do. And once Heracles got there, the oracle told him that he has to complete the 12 labors of Heracles. I mean, to be precise, the oracle told him that Heracles must do any and all tasks that his cousin Eurystheus, the king of Mycenae, tells him to do. And so Heracles returned to his cousin's kingdom and put himself in his cousin's servitude, and the king told Heracles that he had to complete 10. Yes, actually, at first it was 10 labors to fulfill the oracle's orders. Labor number 1, the Nemean lion. For his first labor, Heracles was tasked to kill a monstrous lion. No, not the same lion as before.
Different animal and the same beast.
What the does that mean?
This monstrous lion was a child of the legendary monster Typhon. And if you don't know who Typhon was, just the guy who once almost defeated Zeus and changed the course of Greek mythology. So Typhon's child, this lion, was serious stuff. And he was not just messing with cattle, nah, man. He was eating all the humans all over the region and was said to have indestructible skin. But Heracles was like, please, what are you talking to, bro? Call me Scar, because I've been killing lions. So he went to the Nemean lion's lair, all confident, where this lion just stood on a rock staring at Heracles on some real dark Mufasa thing and jumped at the guy, who immediately fired arrows at the beast. But it turns out that hide was actually indestructible. Not to worry though, arrows were not Heracles' only tool. His deadliest weapon was still his strength. So now it was time for some good old fisting. Good old fist fight. And with all his godly strength, Heracles fought the lion bare-handed, like
ding ding ding, and walked forward to him, and he went running away around the cage.
And ultimately, Heracles defeated the lion by strangling him and then skinned it with its own claw. And because people weren't so soft like now, back then, you could still wear lion fur like a pimp, So Heracles then proudly rocked the lion's indestructible hide as his armor, I'm not advocating wearing fur, by the way. I'm just saying that back then, they just had thicker skin. Thicker skin, get it? Because actually the lion skin was impenetrable. It's literally thick. Anyway, chill, I'm joking too. I'm against fur, seriously. Entirely against it. Animal lover. And that's why I also want to thank today's sponsor, who really tried to make a difference by combating the fur industry. I'm just kidding, I don't have a sponsor. But this could be you. Anti-fur company, this could be you sponsoring this video right here. Missed opportunity, perfect plug. PETA, WWF, WWE, www, whatever.com. I don't care, help a bird out. I need sponsors, I need money. Seriously. So that's one animal dead, one labor done. Time for labor number 2. Kill another animal. This time, the animal on the hit list was a cute serpent, except that it had multiple heads, and except that it wasn't a cute serpent at all, it was actually a giant hydra. Another child of Typhon, because that guy was like Martin Sheen. No good came from his seed. For this task, Heracles took a stereotypical nerd sidekick with him, his nephew Iolaus, who was, the character whose designated tasks are to come up with a smart solution during the fight, be annoying, or get captured, or all three. Basically, the Armin of the story. The Hydra was burning down villages all around its lair, and it had to be stopped. So Heracles waded through its swamps, found it, and immediately started smashing away at its head with his club. But instead of going down after losing its head, the Hydra grew 2 more heads out of the wound. So ever the sharp-minded warrior, Heracles immediately figured, if I smash 1 head and 2 more grow out of it, I need to smash more heads. So he smashed away with his club, cut away with his sword, and more heads grew out of all the stumps. And in any other situation, smashing things and receiving more head is gold. But I'm so, I'm so, I'm so sorry, teachers. Once again, I know some of you use these videos in class. I apologize. Um, Luckily, nerd sidekick Greek Amin was there to do exactly what he was there for, be the brains of this operation, and he pointed out what's going on here and that they should cauterize the wounds before the new heads grow, and so they did. And one head after the other, they worked their way up to the climax. But then after all this head, Heracles ended up with crabs. I'm not joking. Hera sent monstrous crabs to help out the Hydra and kill Heracles. Duh. What type of crabs are you thinking? But even with the crabs, the evil was no match for Heracles, and eventually the Hydra was headless, the crabs were dead, and the fight was over. And Heracles buried the headless Hydra alive, and then dipped his arrows in its poisonous blood to acquire a new weapon. Back in Mycenae, tales of Heracles' deeds had reached the people, and Heracles was more popular than ever. No one cared about the small matter of a dead family anymore. What's a dead wife and a couple of kids compared to a dead lion and a hydra? Heracles was a hero, but he was only getting started. Labor 3 and 4. More animal abuse. This time, the tasks were less Dark Souls and more Pokemon. Capture 2 legendary beasts alive, the Kerinitis hind and the Erymantheos boar. One was a stag with golden horns, bronze hooves, breathing fire, and the other just an insanely powerful pig. The stag was actually sacred to Heracles' half-sister, Artemis, and it was one of 5 fire-breathing stags, 4 of which Artemis captured to have them pull her chariot, because animal abuse apparently runs in the family. The 5th stag, though, got away and roams Greece, and this stag was the rarest of sights, impossible to find, like a super rare Pokemon. And Heracles tracked it for a whole year until he finally found it, but over that year of tracking the beast, he had grown fond of this worthy adversary, learned to respect it even. There was a bond between Heracles and the stag, and he wasn't sure if he shot it with an arrow. Don't worry, it didn't die, it was just crippled for easy capture. As for the boar, Heracles strategically chased it through the heavy snow until the boar tired out and collapsed and was also easily captured. Labor number 5. Shoveling poop. I'm not kidding. Since Heracles was obviously an S-tier monster hunter, his cousin had to switch it up. So Heracles' next task was to clean Greece's biggest horse stable in a day. Yes, to further cleanse his conscience, Heracles was off to cleanse a stable. But who says you can't make some profit while redeeming yourself, right? When he got to the king that owned the stable, Heracles wanted to get paid for cleaning it in a day, get his bag. Heracles wasn't about to do that pro bono stuff, so he said to the king that if he cleans it in a day, he wants 1/10 of the king's flock. Since the task seemed impossible, the king agreed to the deal. No one's going to clean this in a day, and the king's son was there as a witness. Then Heracles showed that he had apparently learned from his time with his nerd nephew Iolaus and used his brains for this task. He blocked off a river passage with rocks and diverted the river into the stables so that the water rushed through the stables and cleaned everything out in a matter of hours. The king felt cheated. He said that Heracles tricked him and refused to honor the deal by simply claiming he had no memory of it and that he never agreed to anything. But it turns out the king's son was a massive snitch, so he called his father out. And the king's natural response was to exile his son and Heracles. So then the son's natural response was to have Heracles gather an army, invade his dad's kingdom, dethrone him, and become the new king and give Heracles his payment. Moral of the story, snitches actually don't get stitches, the parents do. Labor number 6. Back to animal abuse. For the next labor, Heracles was sent to clear the swamp of Stymphalia, clear it of its evil winged beasts, the Stymphalides birds, who took over and were terrorizing the region. And when I say evil birds, I mean evil birds that are straight out of Dark Souls, like straight up from software stuff. They have iron beaks, iron feathers that are sharp as daggers and that they can fire at you. Like, it's cute that from software things we don't know that they wrote this labor. For this one, Heracles actually was outmatched by the sheer amount of birds. he had no way to approach the vultures with their iron feathers shooting at him, so he went to his patron Athena, who helped him out by giving him a set of magical drums made by Hephaestus that were so loud that when he banged them, it chased the birds away. Technically, that was already labor completed, but because that is a lame ending to the labor, Heracles then randomly decided to shoot down some of the escaping birds with poisoned arrows, because he's a hero. Labor number 7, bullfighting, aka more animal abuse. You know the Minotaur, half bull, half human, born after a human woman god, a wooden cow costume with all the appropriate hole cut out so she could have sex with a bull, you know, the usual. But the tale of how the Minotaur was eventually defeated is another hero story for another day. The thing is, the bull that fathered the Minotaur was also a bit of a problem. See, originally, that bull was a gift from Poseidon to the king of Crete, to Minos. Minos had asked for the bull to sacrifice it in Poseidon's honor so that the people of Crete would honor Poseidon more and love their king more for his amazing bull sacrifice. Win-win for god and king. So Poseidon sent Minos the most beautiful bull, so beautiful that Minos was like, screw that, I'm not sacrificing this bull, and tried to fool Poseidon by sacrificing some cheap Walmart bull knockoff. Big mistake. Poseidon was pissed. So first, he made Minos' wife thirst for the bull so hard that, you know, cow costume, hole cutouts, I already told you, it led to the Minotaur. And then he drove the beautiful bull mad with rage. So now Crete had a vicious beast running around causing problems. Until Heracles came. And Heracles took the bull's horns, shined them up real nice.
Turn that sumbitch sideways and stick it straight up your candy ass!
Labor number 8. Steal mares, aka more animal. You get it. Next, Heracles had to steal horses from Diomedes, a barbaric king who was mad proud of his horses because his horses, they ate human flesh. I mean, barbaric, that's pretty cool. And everyone that visited the king's realm was fed to these horses, like real exaggerated villain stuff. Enter our hero, Heracles. Mans just straight up went to the palace, slapped the king around a little bit, dragged him to the stable, and lifted him up by the throat for everybody to see, like,
You want forgiveness?
and then he threw him into the stables where Diomedes was devoured by his own horses, and with a full belly, the horses were then calm enough for Heracles to steal them. Labor number 9. Steal more stuff, this time from the Amazons. Next, Heracles had to go to Themyscira. The task was to steal the girdle, or the belt, of the queen of the Amazons, Hippolyta. And when Heracles got there, all half naked, sweating under his lion skin armor, his muscles glistening in the sun, the queen of the Amazons was like, so they had sex and she agreed to give him the girdle. Labor number 10. Oh, stop. Wait. It wasn't that easy, because even though they made some sweet loving and Hippolytus agreed, Hera intervened. Hera disguised herself as one of the Amazons and spread the rumor that Heracles secretly plans to kill their queen and that the Amazons should rally to their queen and kill Heracles first. So the Amazons did rally to their queen and attacked Heracles, and Heracles was like, well, technically he didn't just slap them, he actually killed a bunch of the Amazons and then killed the queen that he had just slept with and then took the belt off of her dead body.
Because that's what heroes do.
Labor number 10. Steal some more animals. Come on. Is it just me or is this getting repetitive? Like, come on, Greek mythology writers. This is feeling like a Ubisoft game. This task was to steal the cattle from the giant Geryon, who was just minding his own business in Erythea, a faraway island beyond a desert. You know, he was just there, chilling, until some dude wearing lion fur, looking ridiculous in this heat. Lion fur, like some kind of pimp. This dude suddenly shows up, attacked Geryon's guard dog, killed him, and then when Geryon defended himself, this line for pimp maniac beat him to death with his club and then just took his cattle. The pimp for maniac is Heracles, by the way. It's a switch perspective to switch it up. Is it me or did these 10 labors just make Heracles a worse person than before, by the way. Anyway, that was 10 labors done. So when Heracles brought his cousin the millionth random animal that he had to steal to prove that murdering your wife and sons isn't all that bad, King Cousin was like, you know what? I don't think I like what you did with the flooding. I feel like you kind of cheated. Since you got help with the Hydra from your nerd sidekick, yeah, I'm gonna add 2 more tasks. So labor number 11, steal apples. All right, apples now. Okay, so steal some apples. Of course, they were not just any apples. They were golden apples that grew in a secret garden which housed the magical tree that grew golden apples. The tree was actually a wedding gift from Zeus's grandmother to Hera, and its apples were guarded by a dragon with 100 heads and tended to by the Hesperides, the daughters of Atlas. No matter. Heracles does any and all fetch quests like a good GTA hero, but on his way to steal some more things that aren't his and kill people that oppose him in order to prove that he is a good guy, Heracles ran into the titan Prometheus. And the titan, he was in a bit of a pickle. He was chained to a rock, and a vulture was ripping out and eating his liver every day, and it was healing every night. And he'd kind of been there forever. So Prometheus was like, yo, can you help a brother out? And Heracles figured that one actually purely heroic thing without killing something can't hurt. So he freed Prometheus from his chains, and then for no reason he killed the vulture. As thanks, Prometheus told Heracles that this 100-headed dragon is actually a bit too strong for Heracles, no matter how experienced he is with multiple heads going up against him and his powerful club. And he told Heracles of an easier way to accomplish this task without fighting. There was another guy, unjustly punished by Zeus for all eternity, a fellow titan, Atlas, who was forced to lift up the sky, and Prometheus told Heracles that the women guarding the tree are actually Atlas's daughters, so maybe Heracles should talk to him first. Of course, Heracles did as suggested, and Atlas told him that he would happily get the apples if it means that, for a moment, he doesn't have to hold the sky and can talk to his daughters who he hadn't seen in an eternity. So Heracles took the sky from Atlas for a little while, until Atlas returned with the golden apples. But suddenly the gentle, helpful Titan turned into a hateful Titan and told Heracles that he was going to return the apples to the king himself, and that Heracles can now hold the sky forever. After all, it was Heracles' father Zeus who punished Atlas to this ridiculously unjust punishment in the first place. But quick-witted Heracles put on his best poker face and was like, really? Would you really take the apples back from me? That's amazing, that is. Truth is, I hate dealing with my prick cousin. Like, finally, done, winning, no more labors. Don't worry, I'll sort this whole sky thing out with my dad. Just before you leave, let me just, get in a more comfortable position. Maybe put the line from my shoulders or something. The friction. The friction. Of course, Can you just hold the sky for a second, so I can... So Heracles handed the sky back to Atlas and ran away with the golden apples. At this point, Heracles' cousin was pissed. Around Mycenae, people celebrated Heracles for his labors, and all the king managed to do was make him more of a living legend. Everybody loved Heracles, and the word on the streets of Mycenae was that a lot of people actually wanted Heracles to be their next king. So with the last labor, King Eurystheus had to get rid of Heracles once and for all. So for this labor, he sent him on a journey that Heracles could not possibly return from. For labor number 12, Heracles had to go to the underworld and steal the hellhound Hercules. Yeah, Heracles was like, hey, Uncle Hades, mind if I take Cerberus for a little walk? And Hades was like, yeah, sure, no problem. And Heracles brought Cerberus in front of his king, the cousin. Labor completed. It was done. There was nothing the king could do. Despite the king's worst efforts, Heracles had completed the labors, all 12 of them. And by order of the oracle, that meant that his soul was now cleansed and that Heracles was now free, both in servitude and in mind. Free from the servitude of atonement after 12 years of slaving away, Heracles went back to living the good life. AKA, he hooked up with everybody. I mean, Heracles even hooked up with the world's most beautiful man, Adonis, at some point. But That's a story from my video on Adonis. At the end of the day, though, Heracles decided that it was time to settle down again, be happy again, start a family maybe, you know? So he found himself a beautiful wife, Deianira, and the two became a happy couple that roamed throughout the land, all bliss, all joy, until one day, an evil centaur by the name of Nessus kidnapped Heracles' wife to do terrible things to her, which is made even worse when you consider that a centaur's lower half is a horse's body. Like, oh man. Luckily for all of us, Heracles quickly found his wife before Nessus was able to force himself on her, and he killed Nessus with one of his poisoned arrows. Then the dying Nessus whispered into the ear of Heracles' wife. He said, "Listen, I know I just tried to assault you, but trust me on this. I'm a trustworthy centaur. Collect my blood, and when your husband tries to cheat on you, dip his clothes in my blood and make him wear the clothes that are dipped in my blood. It's a love potion that will make him fall in love with you forever." And then he died. And the wife was like, "Yeah, that makes perfect sense to me." So she collected the blood as her secret love potion weapon if Heracles ever tries to leave her. Then the couple continued their travels and eventually found themselves in Ichalea, where one of Heracles' former masters was the king. Remember how I told you that at a young age Heracles was educated and trained by the best of the best in all kinds of areas? Well, the one who taught young Heracles archery was actually this very king, King Evaristos, known to be the best archer in all of Greece, only surpassed by his sons, the princes that the king had taught himself. And every year the king holds an archery competition, and for no reason at all, whoever can beat the king's sons gets the king's daughter Iole as a prize. Of course, the king wanted to see his former pupil, the great hero Heracles, challenge his sons, but Heracles was like, "Listen, bro, I'm a married man now. But I always say you can never have enough fathers-in-law, so where do I sign up?" Of course, Heracles, being Heracles, he won the contest. He beat the sons. But the king, he knew Heracles from way back when, from Heracles was young, so he was well aware that Heracles once killed his wife and his daughter, so he refused to give his daughter away as a prize. And I mean, you don't expect a father that offers his daughter as a prize to strangers for an entirely unnecessary archery contest to make sound decisions, but not marrying her to Heracles? Sound decision. So Heracles was pissed and swore revenge on the king for breaking his promise, and when days later the king's cattle mysteriously disappeared, all fingers pointed at Heracles, because, I mean, fair enough, at this point, how many cattle or horses has he stolen, bro? All blamed Heracles, except one of the king's sons, Iphitos. Iphitos admired Heracles, knew of his heroics, and said that he would actually help Heracles find the cattle to prove his innocence. What Iphitos didn't know, though, was that it was Heracles who drove the cattle away in the first place to get payback on the king. And because he told Iphitos his dark secret now, like a bad B-movie villain, you know what's coming next. Yeah, Heracles threw Iphitos off the city walls to his death. Then Heracles decided that killing one of the king's sons wasn't enough punishment for not receiving his archery contest prize, so Heracles gathered an army and marched on the king's city to take over, kill all the sons, and then kidnap his daughter Iole and make her his prisoner. Now, some say that it was Hera who once again used Heracles' anger over the contest prize not being given to him to drive him mad, but this is the same guy who took another king's kingdom for withholding payment when he cleaned out the stables, and the same guy who murdered his music teacher for correcting him, so... Of course, Heracles was still married to Deianira, so she wasn't happy with her husband literally overthrowing a kingdom just to get his hands on another woman. She feared that Heracles would leave her for Iole, so Deianira remembered the words of the centaur Nessus, and she remembered his love potion blood, and she secretly dipped Heracles' clothes in the blood, and when Heracles put on his clothes, the poison killed him. Okay, technically the poisoned blood caused agonizing pain, but wasn't strong enough to kill him, so that Heracles decided to build himself a pyre and burn to death. So that's how he died, by burning away his mortal body. And then his spirit ascended to Mount Olympus, and Heracles became a god and married the goddess Hebe, the goddess of youth. And they lived happily ever after amongst the other gods. Oh, and his wife Deianira, yeah, she felt so guilty that she killed herself.